Happy New Year. I know that seems like a funny thing to say when I've got my Christmas tree in behind me, but I thought it was kind of appropriate considering what I'm going to talk about today, to have something that's full of so many memories and trinkets and treasures. We don't have one of those like picture perfect Christmas trees. We have one that's full of ornaments that like my godmother made me, my mother-in-law made me, that we've made while we're on vacations or picked up while we're traveling. So it's really representative of like the journey until now, which is kind of something that I feel like usually gets celebrated at Christmas time, at least the way that we celebrate. So, I know a lot of people are making videos or posts or whatever, kind of talking about, new year, new me. And I think that's amazing. I think it's a great way to start off the year, even if you don't have a resolution, but to start off with an intention, of what you would like to do for this year. Intentions mean that you have to be intentional. And so talking about it and kind of sharing your plan and being accountable on it, like these are things that kind of help. At least they help me to keep what my goals are present. And last year, I was really focused on taking on things that scared me, challenging my internal monologue and fears, and saying, instead of what if it doesn't work out, more like what if it does. And I think I learned a lot. I mean, there were certainly ups and downs, and it was probably one of the hardest years of my life. But I think if I said I was going to take on my fears, then that should have been a given. You don't do that without some internal trepidation. And I was thinking towards the latter end of last year that I was gonna have to pick a new goal, a new center, so to speak. And I was thinking about what it was that I was enjoying and kind of processing, but I don't think until I had time to really reflect after my trip to the UK in September, what it is I'd want to focus on next. And I think there's a couple of things that I'll highlight as to how I helped myself decide this. Number one, I think in the constant quest of being better and doing more and, what's the next thing, we can often race past and lose pieces of ourselves, lose pieces of what was great in that quest for more. And I think it's always great to be striving, but I think there are moments where we have this rapid progression, and then there's these moments where we need to recognize that this is probably a moment to pause, remember what was great, and don't lose it. And then, I also had the thought of how impactful and empowering my trip to the UK, my solo trip was. As a mom, and as some parents will know, especially I find other women, not to say dads aren't like this, because there are plenty of dads that I know like this, but for sure I know for a lot of my mom friends, when we get a chance to talk, this is something that comes up. But this process of being a parent means that you must put the needs, the wants, the requirements of being a parent and being there for your children before your own needs and wants. And for me, that actually existed long before becoming a parent. As an older sibling, as someone with a single mother, there's a lot that was asked from me, and that's not a slight. I mean, that's just part of my journey, but it does mean that for a good portion of my life, I haven't really been able to ask myself, like, what do you want? Not first, anyway. It's something that, I could probably list off a list of material things that I wanted, but when you ask me what I want, as a person internally, for my own personal peace and goals, that was something that was really hard for me to consider, because I'd always think like, well, how would that impact the people around me? How would that affect, my spouse, my children, my family? And, that those are all great questions to ask, but it also means that you miss a little, or in some cases a lot along the way, about fulfilling your own dreams. And, as I just celebrated my birthday, not that long ago, and I turned, I hate to admit it, I had turned 43. I had a moment, to pause and to reflect on that trip to the UK, and how amazing it was to wake up every morning and go, what would you like to do today? And what do you want to see? And how are you feeling? And to ask myself first. And I'm not suggesting that I'm going to only ask myself going forward, but if I thought about a theme for 2025, it's kind of twofold. It is to check in with me first before I consider the outside world. What do you want? And what is your purpose? What are you looking to do in this situation? How do you want to show up? What's important to you? And then I can consider other people. But that should be the guiding light. That should be what I go with, because ultimately I have to live in this body. I have to live with this mind and be happy with my choices and decisions. And if that's always at the expense, or I'm always making decisions at the expense of myself to make everybody else happy, that's not really staying true to who I am either. And then I also think of it from the other side of, in that process, in that journey, I have, maybe lost a little bit of who I am. And so remembering, much like the beautiful memories on the tree, remembering the things that I used to do that were important, that were things that I talked about when I was younger. Maybe looking at how they could be adapted for the person that I am today, but whether it's finding things that I used to find joy in, or it's, adapting something that's a new goal to something that I used to be good at. My mission for 2025 really is, to listen more to myself, to use myself as a guide, and to remember who I am in everything that I take on. So I'm going to put it in this video because I think it's important. But a great example of what I'm talking about is that when I was in high school, I was kind of a literary nerd. Anybody who's talked to me for more than 5 minutes knows how much I love Harry Potter. It's right in my LinkedIn description that I'm a Hufflepuff. But the reality was I used to write a lot of poetry and short stories and stuff, and I would harass my literature teacher, and I was the first person to finish an essay that was theorizing the intentions of the author in a book, and I could pull out foreshadowing. I'm already showing my nerdy side, but basically I really, really loved writing, and I actually thought I was going to go on to be an English major. That wasn't really in the cards for me for many reasons, but and I'm not looking to go back to school now, but I am writing a book. And when I talk about adapting, adapting looks like, okay, I'm not going to write a book that's maybe what I had thought, maybe not a book of poetry, maybe not a book of, some drama or whatever. I'm going to write a book on automation, and I'm going to find an adult choir I can join. Again, if you've talked to me for more than 10 minutes, you probably recognize my love of karaoke. This is born from growing up in choir. Unfortunately, when I had my children, I was very, very sick, and it damaged my vocal cords. You can kind of still hear a little bit of raspiness, but I'm hoping with regular use and training that I can find a way to be able to enjoy singing again. And even if it's a little, not what it used to be, or maybe not where I'd like it to be, I really do just love singing. And having a space to be able to explore that is something that I'm going to take on. I doubt that solo trip will be my last solo trip or my last time back to Europe. In any case, I look forward to already having a full dance card in terms of conferences for 2025, so I'll be able to get out, but hoping to tack on a day or two extra in certain places so that I can really explore. This world is beautiful, and there's so many things that I want to see. And I look forward to talking about and exploring more some of the topics that I'm writing about in the book. Just to be clear, I already started writing the book in 2024. I'm about 4 chapters in. I have the sketch and outline on 12, but it's something that I'm super excited about because I'm pretty passionate about this topic, and I'm writing. I'm getting a chance to do something that I loved when I was in running my photography business. I would write blogs every week for my couples to talk about their wedding days and to talk about what was amazing and tell their story, both with the pictures that I took and my words. And I definitely don't miss the long days, but I do miss that aspect of it. So this is a way to kind of make something that can seem highly technical a little more accessible, and for me to exercise that muscle to be able to combine a passion, or maybe two passions together. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of my eclectic, varied friends go on to do some amazing things this year too. Just know that even though I'm considering me first, I'm still the same person. That person is rooting for all the people who are in my life to do amazing things. And I only really talk about the stuff that I do because I want people to feel permission and empowered to do the same. I really hope that you are able to listen to yourself first and get to a place where you can consider your own journey and where you want to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. It's kind of a morbid thing, but you know, my mom used to say something to me that I used to get really mad at. But she said she operated life based on, you know, thinking about what someone would say about her at her funeral. And one thing that I've realized is that, you know, that's such an interesting take because it can make us afraid of what people think of us. And the reality is that most people will think positive things unless you're an outright asshole. Most people will think positive things and say nice things about you after you've died. The only person that will be dissatisfied if you did everything for everybody else is yourself. And I, you know, obviously I want to be the type of person that people celebrate, but I also want to be the type of person who's happy with my decisions. And in doing so, I have to make sure to keep true to myself. And I hope the same for you. So let's all kick some ass in 2025 and see where it takes us.